Throughout the 20th century, the overseas Chinese gained in power and prestige, but this did not mean that they no longer experienced resentment and persecution. They had suffered under the Japanese occupation. After the war, it was their fellow citizens who would turn against them, as they had so many times in the past 500 years. Some of the worst atrocities would take place in Indonesia. Every weekend, Budianto runs a Chinese cramming class at his home in Bangka, Indonesia. They are here because their parents have ordered them to attend. Every few days, the students practice the lion dance outside Budianto's home. As a Chinese, Budianto is in a minority. In his community, only a handful of people can still speak the language of their forebears. To understand why, we need to go back to the end of the Japanese occupation in 1945 and the Declaration of Independence by Indonesia's first president, Sukarno, in 1949. For the first decade of independence, the Chinese generously threw themselves behind the president's nation-building program. But many were jealous of Chinese wealth and prestige.
A lot of the Chinese played a role in the trade, or merchants, or in the industry, and some of them are extremely wealthy. That leads to a lot of jealousy of Indonesian people towards the Chinese community.
In 1959, Chinese in rural areas were ordered to close their businesses and move to the cities, sacrificing all their wealth in the process.
当时大概有1000多个华人的学校跟社团被政府强制接管，接管了所有的财产都给他没收。
Orang di desa orang Tionghoa belum memilih ketika itu, tapi mereka sudah menyatakan ini orang asing dan sebagainya. Padahal yang nggak boleh kan dagang. Tapi akhirnya semuanya dilarang oleh mereka di beberapa tempat ya oleh militer.
But much worse was to come. In 1966, the Indonesian government demanded a solution to what he called the Chinese problem and ordered the closure of all Chinese schools. Idris Sutarji was a teacher in Jakarta, the capital.
学校其实在当时发生的非常突然了。那我们在学校守着，他们一进来的时候，3辆卡车，这3辆卡车中间下了车之后，拿着棍子啊，拿着铁条啊，拿着石头啊，到处乱打乱炸。我们那个校长是被破坏，隔壁的事务处被破坏，我们的教导处都被破坏。破坏之后，他们到里面去打人了，我们就堵在他的前面呢，让他不能够再上前了。学生在上课嘛，这样的情景也不是我们一个学校。雅加达当时有20几间的学校，如果不说大大小小，包括副学班的学校，夜校是27间，那都是遭受同样的命运呢。
美元换成人民币。
Elissa Christiana, whose family had lived in Java for generations, was a child when her school was ordered to stop teaching Chinese.
说实在的，当学校关闭的时候，1966年4月12号关闭的时候，我还在念小学4年级。我爸爸非常的可以说他的眼光蛮到家的，就是说4月份学校关闭，7月份就把我送到印尼学校去了。很多人都骂他说：“你为什么把女儿送到印尼学校去？为什么不等中国学校再开再让她上学？”我爸说：“总之我女儿不能不上学，无论是印尼学校也好，让她去读吧。”
So Elissa's pragmatic father sent her to an Indonesian school. At this time, Chinese schools were closed. Chinese could not be spoken in public, and Chinese Indonesians were even forbidden to use their ancestral family names.
也可以说，我们整个印尼的中文字汉字是完全看不到了，而且还有就是说，在移民局那边呢，什么海关呢，就是有一个法律，就是说你如果进来我们印尼这里呢，不能带中文书刊，就把这个中文书刊当作是跟毒品跟武器是一样的。比如说在国外，我们常常会看到中文报纸吧，就把报纸当作是包东西的。把它弄得皱皱的，然后包起来。比如说我买了个洋娃娃或买什么东西，我就把它当作是包装纸，包起来带回来。
我记得有一次我买了很多书，然后海关就把我的那些衣服一条一条的把它这样去检查，然后那些书本就一个一个掉下来，然后他就把它全部没收。我当时心痛到不得了。感觉到为什么其实我买的都是一些小说，也不是政治的书啊，为什么连这样的书我都不可以看这样子。
During this dark time, unknown numbers were murdered by vigilantes. Here in Surabaya, these former Chinese properties were razed, and Chinese families learnt to fear the appearance of a red bowl filled with chicken or dog blood placed outside their front doors. This macabre ritual was a signal to liquidate the family living inside the house.
这个碗呢，就是血碗呢，传到哪里，你就是要行动呀，这就是命令。那么这个碗里面的血哈，就一直传呀，从这个村传到那个村。
所以虽然当时很小，但是都有一种白色恐怖的那一种感觉，我们都会有那一种感觉。
But some fought back. Concealed behind the chapel in this little church is a room where people came to learn Chinese in secret. One of them was Elissa Christiana. When she grew up, Elissa would be a Chinese teacher. It was a very dangerous road to take.
我们每次要去补习的时候，我们就把一些我们的课本啊，就把它卷起来，好像带着一个什么东西这样子。然后到了那个家门前，先左看右看，看有没有人在跟踪呢？没有看到，没有什么问题，就快点跑进去这样子。
More than 1.5 million people were in prison at one time or another in this period. For those who endured this persecution, many terrible memories have not yet faded.
本来我的父母亲就是说，一直希望能够复校，然后再把孩子送到这个华校再去读书。但是后来的情况就发现是这个是不可能的事情，所以我的弟弟妹妹后来就要去进这个印尼学校。所以我的弟弟妹妹他们呢都是可能会听一些华文，但是他完全不会写，可能讲还能够一点点单句是可以。 但是叫他讲一个非常流利的那是不可能的。
Bong Kok Min owned a grocery store. For 40 years, he could speak his home dialect only behind closed doors.
阿公阿爸從係廣東省嘅洋人，婆婆平常嚟到你私家新條樣。
Chai Chiang was an engraver, but could not practice his craft as the printing of Chinese characters was forbidden.
我係曉到跟當條安照顧華妹兩條曉聽往來。
Dr. Zhang has a profound knowledge of traditional Chinese medicine, but today he has to rely on dictionaries to read the classic texts. In Indonesia today, Chinese New Year celebrations are welcome, and Chinese children are encouraged to study their roots, culture, and language.
我还是承认我是炎黄子孙，我还是要保护这个华族的文化。可是，在国际、在政治上，我们必须效忠印尼这个祖国。这个政治文化 跟你的那个族群有不一样。因为什么呢？就像瓦西德总统所说，我们第4任总统他说，华族呢必须保留你们的文化的根，这样你们才有特性嘛。
Although death was a frequent visitor to the Chinese communities in Southeast Asia, the dawn of a new millennium would bring new hope for the people of the Southern Ocean.